Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday Night Live. Today, we're going to be talking about energetic sovereignty, taking your power back and stop giving your power away. But we're going to talk about this in a pretty grounded way. We are going to get into some spiritual stuff, but a lot of times when people talk about energetic sovereignty, they're kind of going so big picture and so auric field and so energies and your chakras and entities and energy vampires and all of that. But let's talk about it also in like real life human terms as well, because that is the real way that we are usually giving our power away. And we're going to talk about some nuance in giving your power away today, because not only does it happen with toxic people, energy vampires, people crossing your boundaries, people taking advantage of you, unclear situationships, abusive bosses. Sure, those are the obvious ways we give our power away. But there's a lot of other ways that are not always negative that we are giving our power away. Sometimes we're doing it out of love. Sometimes we're doing it out of, gratitude. That's one that we're going to talk about. Sometimes we give our power away because we're so grateful to the way that somebody has helped us. Like, actually, let's start right there. That's a great place to start. And then we'll kind of get into some of the more basic ones, but it feels like that's the one that wants to come up right now. So, let's say, for example, someone has really helped you with their work, with their content. It could be a guru, a teacher. It could be, someone on YouTube or TikTok. And, I get messages from people that they're like, oh my God, like your content like saved me, or your content is the reason I had a spiritual awakening. And although that is like, I love hearing that I've helped people. I love hearing that people have been impacted by my work. But there is also an important differentiation there that is like, no, you did it. You spiritually awoke yourself. I was just a little fly on the wall. I was just a little birdie in your ear. I didn't do that for you. You did it for you. And this is something that I see a lot in the spiritual space, is people giving their power away to like a guru, a reader, someone who helped them, someone who, and a lot of times when we're getting readings, a lot of times they're actually validating what we already know of ourselves. So it's more of a remembering. They helped you remember. But oftentimes people are giving their power away by, that was the work you did. That was the reading that you did. That was the work that you did. That was the meditation that you did. That was the journaling that you did. That is not anybody else's work. So sometimes we kind of give away some of our power through gratitude. So it's not always something negative that we're giving power away. And sometimes that other person isn't taking it too. Like, someone could say like, you really helped me in my spiritual awakening. I'm not taking the power. They're just kind of tossing it off of themselves, when it's like, no, thank you. I love that the information, the insights have helped, but also it's you who changed your lifestyle. It's you who changed and did the work. It's you who implemented the things, who said the affirmations, who did the meditation, who came up with the stuff. And sometimes, we're giving away our power by outsourcing our intuition. And that's a really important one for this community, people into spiritual stuff, is the outsourcing of intuition, the outsourcing of their own achievements and their own work and the own revelations that they've come to through their own meditation. Yes, and this is so important for both sides to realize. When someone gives away their power, it's important for that other person not to take it. Great point, right? Sometimes then there's people who do take it, right? And I'm actually re-editing some of my old videos that I'm going to be putting out in clips. So keep an eye open for that on YouTube. You'll see little 5, 10, 15-minute clips coming up, which are from my old Tuesday night lives. And I just edited one about cult leaders and this really fine line between spirituality and cult leader, and kind of how to differentiate those things. But you're right. Sometimes the other person does take that power. And that can happen outside of spiritual spaces too. You could be like, man, you changed my life. You saved my life. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be where I am right now. Yes, that might be true. but it was still your individual power that did it. And that other person does have a responsibility to not let their ego absorb that power. So let's get to some of the more basics, though. That was just something, that little rant that I wanted to go on that felt like it needed to come out right in the beginning. But okay, let's talk about personal power, right? So, what is your personal power? Now, you might have gotten these indicators before. Like, let's say you go into a room, into a space, and you start to feel yourself kind of shrink or drain or shut down. That is something draining or pulling on your power. And now it could be the other person. And we might want to also blame the other person. But how much of this is our own responsibility? How much of this is our own giving away of the power, that sometimes we're disempowering ourselves by making it that the other person is taking the power? Further disempowering ourselves because we're not even empowering ourselves to know that we have made the decision to give away our power. So now sometimes that is the case. Sometimes a person is energy vampire pulling on the power. Sometimes they're unconsciously just kind of drinking up all the energy in the room. And so this is also your nervous system indicating to you that you're giving away your power. So yeah, there might be someone trying to take it, but also you have the power to not. What did this say? We forget to give ourselves credit for taking the steps of our own growth. Right. And then I kind of went to the other end of the spectrum. And then we also forget to give ourselves the credit for when we are disempowering ourselves. So we can kind of, if you're giving your power away, some people are giving it away on both ends of the spectrum. Some people are giving it away by not giving themselves credit when it's due for their achievement and their work and their own awakening or their own progress or their own goals that they've achieved. And then we have the other end where they want to blame the person for taking their power, who you're actually the one giving it. So, personal power, having awareness of your personal power is so important. So, the biggest thing with personal power is being able to differentiate your energy from another person. What is yours? What is theirs? And this is really interesting that this is all coming up right now as I'm starting to do these deep dives into human design, because the human design is all of these defined or undefined centers. So you're basically, every person has their own design of where they absorb energy and where they put out energy. And so I've told you guys, I'm going to do a human design series on YouTube. We're going to do a bunch of like Tuesday night lives breaking down stuff. I'm still in the process of that breakdown, but this Thursday, I have an incredible episode of the podcast coming out with Marisha, who is a Mama Marisha on Instagram and TikTok. She's a human design reader. And oh my God, like incredible, incredible, incredible. Like as I'm reading human design, the thing that's frustrating me is that it's very vague. And I don't like vague. Okay. I like to get it all and digest it and then give it. And I can't digest vague shit. So I'm like, I need a good person that knows their stuff, that has real examples, real life. Because as I read stuff about human design, it's like you have an open center. Well, it sounds like that's just sucks and it's a weakness. And there's a lot more to it than that. And she had some great examples. What was the creator's name again? Mama Marisha, and you can find her on Instagram. You can find her on TikTok. And this Thursday on my podcast, Ultra Minds, we're going to have an interview with her. And oh my God, you guys, like, I didn't know that crystals were connected to human design, health, body. Like, she explained the dream stuff. We went so in depth. And like, one of the first questions that I asked her is about the open centers, because in this topic of giving away power, I'm like, so what? People with open centers are just screwed. And I'm lucky. I have, I think, 8 defined centers. So I'm fine. But what about everybody else? And how am I supposed to give information to people and help people digging into human design when I just basically feel like, damn, well, you're just what? Don't know who you are, can't tell your own emotions, can't tell if you're safe or not. I'm like, damn, this sounds messed up. But so she gave some really good insights on having an open center. So, because most people have a lot of open centers. So that's great. Hello, hello. Thanks, Meg. Welcome. Welcome. Thanks, guys. Love the green top. Thank you. Okay. So, Our chakras as centers. So it actually is a little bit more complicated than that. It doesn't exactly line up with the chakra system. It kind of has more. There's 9 centers. So there's more and they're a little different and they also stand for different things. So I'm going to do more of those basics in some coming videos and we can get more into this personal power sovereignty stuff with that. But I was like, I'm not going to waste a master human design person's time with the basic questions. Let's get to the good stuff. And it also certain centers make you more receptive to certain energies and experiences, supernatural experiences, things like that. Okay. So being able to differentiate your energy from another person's energy, being able to differentiate your opinions from another person's opinion. This is very aligned with human design stuff, but this is also real life without a modality. This is your real power, your real sovereignty. So living in your values is another thing, like being able to live by your own values, being able to set your boundaries, being able to know what your boundaries are, being able to know what your needs are. This is something that I've talked a lot about with the relationship stuff is part of the reason I think that in my past relationships, I didn't even know what my needs were. It wasn't until I did the Calling in the One course that I even knew what my needs were. I had this idea of like, I don't need a man. And then a man's like, well, I don't need a woman. And everybody's like, I don't need anything. And it's because we're thinking of needs as the lowest level of needs, which is survival. And do you need a man to survive? No. Do you need a woman to survive? No. Do you need anything of another person to survive? Not really. You can totally survive without. But then there's emotional needs. There's spiritual needs. There's community needs. There's connection needs. There's all of these other needs. So these other types of needs are very important. And these are something around personal power too, is even being able to identify your own opinions, your own needs, your own wants, your own desires, your own energy. Another thing is you towards others. Sometimes you're not in your personal power by controlling others because your insecurities are controlling another person or manipulating another person. So that is also someone who's kind of overpowering another person doesn't really always mean that they're have a lot of power. They're actually just kind of taking power from another person. So when we don't know our own needs, when we don't know our own beliefs, when we don't know our own energy from another person's energy, our own emotions from another person's emotions, these are like cracks in the energy field, cracks in the fence, cracks in the aura, cracks in the house, cracks in the walls, whatever you want to use as your visual. And these are little slivers of energy where then they kind of leak out. And so, how do these things leak out? In some of the regular ways, this could be being in a relationship that is not aligned, but it feels like safe or like you don't want to leave it because of this, this, and this, or a job that is not aligned or a job that doesn't feel good anymore, but you don't want to leave because of like your need for like safety or acceptance or validation or a title or other things, because you would let down a parent or you would let down someone else by not doing this job, by following what you want. There's also just people pleasing in general. People pleasing in general is giving away your power, is disempowering yourself. And so, also, like too, at work, maybe you say yes to certain things that you don't really want to do because you're like, I don't want to be hard. I want to be a team player. Like, this is what happened a lot in like the modeling world. And, many, many, many moons ago, I was in the modeling world. And oftentimes you go along with things because you don't want to be difficult. Even when I worked in movies, and when I lived in LA and even when I worked in New York, I had worked in movies as like in New York, I was more of like a production assistant. But like even that, there's like things that you agree to do because you want to be a team player or you don't want to be difficult or you don't want to cause a problem or you don't want to upset someone. And so you might be able to have those personal boundaries in real life with friends, with family, with relationships, and then get to work and not be able to have those boundaries. Or maybe you have those boundaries in certain areas and then you don't have those boundaries with your parents or your family members or your spouse or your kids. He said, "I love all of these themes everywhere of taking power back. As Naka and the medicine for the people are on the Take Your Power Back tour. Hmm. You have a hard time with what you want, so it's difficult to manifest because you're eating more information and spending time to know what you want. I've got to sit with what you just said for a while. Yeah. You started praying. You said JK Ultra. I started praying. My life then started to fall apart. Then somehow I was led to follow alien topics. I ate too much NDE testimonies for years, and I think I managed to take as much as I could, and now I'm here." Okay, so this is another thing too, is like outsourcing opinions is a way of disempowering ourselves. So there is a very fine line, right? Because we do need outside information sometimes to understand ourselves. And sometimes it can be empowering outside information, right? Sometimes you might like talk about the alien topic. There's a lot of people that have told me throughout the years that because I've shared my alien experience and things like that, people sometimes are like, wow, that empowered me to something that I felt really embarrassed or ashamed of. And I felt like, oh, look, the other people have had experiences too. And then sometimes we pass a spectrum of we take in so much information that we actually start to lose our own opinion on things, or we start to lose our own intuition on where to go, what's true, what's not, and causes more confusion. This is really big also in the conspiracy space. The conspiracy space, which is truth seeking, causes a lot of confusion. And so it actually sometimes at first becomes empowering, like, oh, I'm taking charge of my own narrative. I am not only here to, be an NPC or, go by the book or all of these things. And then it starts to go too far. Like the spectrum starts to go too far. And then all of a sudden you're in a place where you're more confused. You don't know what to believe. And then you feel rattled and ungrounded by it. Someone says, yeah, like the fake flat earth stuff. Right. Like, stuff like that can become so confusing that people then don't know what to believe, and then they start to be so disempowered that now you can't navigate your own intuition. Now you can't navigate your own opinions because they've outsourced so much intuition and so much opinions to other people that now they're not even sure what they believe or what resonates anymore. And then also, a lot of those people just kind of pick figureheads because they don't know what to believe anymore, that they're like, well, I like this person. I resonate with this podcaster or this person. So that resonates. And then I don't resonate with this person. So what they say doesn't resonate because they can't actually look at the individual information anymore because they've over consumed so much information that they've led to confusion that now it just becomes okay, well, I like Joe Rogan. I like Candace Owens. I like this person. I like that person. This astrologer, this channeler, this psychic, this political news person, Tucker Carlson or Don Lemon, and then they just kind of start to drink up whatever that person says. So this is another way to know if you are in your power in the area of information is, can you listen to something from someone that you don't resonate and take something from it? And can you listen to people that you do like and not take everything they say and still be able to navigate each individual experience? Like, there's a lot of people that I like them, but I don't like their information anymore. But I'll still listen to them. Like, I was listening to Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson the other day. And I mean, I love Alex Jones. Alex Jones cracks me up. He is so funny. Like, no matter what he's saying, he's so funny. But I was listening to his interview the other day with Tucker Carlson, and it was just to me like a lot of nonsense. Like there was a couple points that he was making that were interesting, but then he was also so much like antichrist, demonic stuff, this, that. And it's like I could still watch it and still enjoy him as a person, but I'm secure in what my beliefs are. And could say like, okay, I find this entertaining, but I don't agree with what's being said. Or I can sometimes say, like, when I was talking about that Joe Rogan, Greg Braden episode, who I like both of them. I really loved Greg Braden's work, but I was able to be like, I'm not going to take everything that he's saying at face value because there's a lot of stuff that he's talking about that, like, I don't agree with. And a lot of this is going towards separation. It's going away from oneness. It's going towards negativity. It's going towards disempowerment. And let's get to the disempowerment of bigger topics like that. One of the most disempowering things that we have right now in these kind of spaces, because people that are more drawn to this video or drawn to my material are going to be more in the spiritual, more in the conspiracy, more in the alien, more in the personal development. So, for this community, one thing that has really been disempowering is what I talked about 2 weeks ago on the Tuesday Night Live, which is the us versus them distraction. They're distracting us. They're poisoning us. They're spraying the chemtrails. They're poisoning the food. They're putting the fluoride. They don't want us to have education. They don't want us to know. They don't want us to this. They don't want us to that. They don't want us to. And it's like, that is the most disempowering thing that you can do to yourself, is believing that somebody has power over you. And I used to be very much in that mentality. And I was feeling there was a lot of other areas of my life that was leaking into. I was not working in alignment with my purpose. I was not all of these other areas of my life. I was in relationships that were not honest, like, so it does bleed out into a lot of other areas of your life if you are leaking a lot of energy in one area. So for me, when I was in that disempowerment mentality of like us versus them, or there's like these evil forces, this Illuminati, the reptilians are sucking the loosh. Now everybody's talking about like, AI stuff. And it's like, you have the power in yourself to anything that you want. Another thing is disempowering yourself to your past. Your past is a huge source of disempowerment for most of us. I had someone on my TikTok live the other morning, because I do sometimes TikTok live when I have my coffee in the morning. And the person was talking about that they have a narcissistic mom, an emotionally available dad, and that they're autistic. And I had some really hard advice for this person. And I was like, listen, this is going to come off as insensitive and hard, but people need to hear it sometimes. And if it doesn't land today, okay, then it doesn't, don't accept it. But I was like, you are empowering the story of your past and your life to navigate who you are and your identity. You have given your identity away to the fact that you have a narcissistic mom. You have given your power away to the fact that you have an emotionally unavailable father. You have given your power away to your own title of autism. Doesn't mean that you don't have it one day, but to disempower yourself constantly with these story, identity, illness, you're still going to have these things. The narcissistic mom still exists. The emotional dad still exists. The unemotional available dad still exists. The diagnosis still exists. But sometimes we're telling ourselves this story again and again and again and again that we just are actually giving away all of our power. And it's like, there's a lot of people who see autism as their superpower. There's a lot of people, and it works really well for them. Like, not to say that there's not struggles with that. Of course there's struggles, but there's a lot of people who perceive this as a superpower, and they really do communicate in incredible ways and do receive information, and they're empowered in their intuition. They're empowered in their decisions. They're able to set boundaries in a way that feels good to them, not setting boundaries as a form of weakness of like, well, you need to do this, this, and this because I'm autistic, because I have these things. It's like, no, they actually do it like, no, this is what I need to make myself feel good and right. And I would love for you to respect that. You empowering yourself, also sometimes like setting your own boundary, setting your own limit, a lot of times will shake someone else into it. Like, I've had that happen with me before. Like, I've had friends that I've seen them set boundaries, and it has been like a slap in the face to me because I was like, "Whoa, I never even thought that was like an option to set a boundary in that way." Like I have been shocked at times, and then I was like, "Wow, when you see someone else set a boundary, it gives you permission to be like, damn, I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about maybe standing up for myself in that way because I didn't even know that was an option. Or I just think like, oh, this is the way life is. So there's a lot of things like we can disempower ourselves from our past, from our upbringing, from being raised poor and having these struggles and then now we're still disempowering ourselves from those things. Now, also ideas, religion, beliefs can be disempowering. Lifestyles can be disempowering. Someone can be on a certain diet and they're disempowering themselves. So we have to be very, like, really take a personal audit on ourselves and really say, where am I giving my power away? You said you're a leader at work and you set the example for your team in setting them. Exactly. Like that's something that I've noticed with you know, my sister I don't work with her. She has a day job, but because she's like a manager, oh my God. Wow, I got a warning for misinformation. Don't tell autistic people that it could be a superpower. Okay. Eee, TikTok. Okay. Anyway. Um And then you see all the misinformation on this app, right? Like literally 24/7 misinformation app. Don't say anything to give people any power. Okay. So but what I was saying is like say, for example, my sister, she has said like stood up for her team in different ways. And then that, like, lets the people on the team know that, like, not only do you have my back, that sets the standard of like, "Oh, I can stand up for what I need at work, and I somebody has my back." And also in the future, they might be in a managerial position and stand up for other people in that way and stand up for their own team. So, when we have our personal power another type of personal power is speaking your opinions. So, there was a study and they observed the behavior of people who feel powerful and behavior of people who feel powerless. And they saw that people who perceive themselves as powerful, they went into something that they called approach mode. And so they are ready to approach and do things. So this is like they went with more curiosity, more confidence, more creativity. They were willing to try more things. They were getting more goals done, sought out more opportunities. They got more rewards. They also found that biologically, dopamine and testosterone peaked in these people. And this could be men or women, right? Testosterone is in everybody. So it's like that when you are in a state of feeling powerful, your body responds, your nervous system responds. Now, the people who were feeling powerless, their body spiked cortisol, the stress hormone. Okay. And they went into something that this in the study they called the inhibitor mode or inhibition mode. And they reacted being cautious, being restrictive, having self doubt, second guessing, being hyper aware, holding back their opinions for fear of ridicule, for fear of rejection. So take an observation in your life. Like, take a moment and think, like, is there an area of your life that you maybe feel angry or resentful towards? Because a lot of times feeling angry, resentful is actually a good indicator of where somewhere is draining your energy or leaking your energy, and also an indicator of a place that you have given your power away, right? Now, I'm not saying that other person that you're giving your power away, or that object, or that lifestyle, or that belief, or that concept is not powerful, but it's your permission that you're giving it. So take like a moment and like think to yourself, what comes to your mind when I'm like, okay, is there an area, a person, a place, an idea, a something, a job that you feel angry or resentful towards? Funny the way destiny works. I spoke up today and make choices to kind of steer away from stress. And you know what? Every time when these topics kind of come up, people ask me like, "When do you plan these Tuesday night live topics?" And it's like, I come up with the idea sometime Tuesday morning or afternoon, and then I prepare 5 minutes before coming on here. So it's so funny that every week people are like, "This just came up for me." Like last week's episode, which was about finding your purpose, there was a comment that I really loved on that the person said, "If you posted this 2 weeks earlier, I would have not watched it. But because you posted it now, it was the perfect timing." And I'm like, "This is like we're all in flow with each other." I would tell my students that autism is not a disability, but an ability, and we don't understand it yet. We are disabled by not understanding the world we share. That's beautiful. It's beautiful. Okay. So I wish I could watch this later. You can. It's on YouTube. So the replay will be on YouTube. So you can always come back when you're on TikTok and watch these Tuesday night lives. Overcoming self-imposter syndrome, not so angry, but more working on no more shrinking yourself. Right. So like something that makes you shrink, something that drains your energy. Do I have notes on that? I don't think I have notes on different things that we feel when we are giving our power away. But anger, frustration, resentment, feeling like we can't speak up, feeling like, and then it's okay. Let's say if it's like something like you want to start posting online and you have a resistance towards it. And you think, who are you giving your power away to? Okay, maybe you have family members that would judge you. So you're giving some power away to the family members. Or maybe there's people from your neighborhood that you'd be embarrassed if they saw the videos, so you don't post them. You're giving your power away to some random person you went to the second grade with, you know? Or maybe you're giving your power away to social stuff. Like, say here, I mean, there was like some troll on the beginning of this when before the YouTube started, and someone said, like, "Why do you have so much makeup on?" And I'm like, "Well, it's really not that much, but there's a smoothing filter on TikTok, and I think they're on StreamYard that I stream through. I think that there's like a subtle smoothing filter. And I've got super bright lights on. So it's not actually as much as it looks like. But that social thing, right? Like there's this like social thing that like people feel like they have to deal with, overcome, etc. by coming online, right? Because there's always going to be somebody who you look good, they're gonna say something. You look bad, they're gonna say something. Like, this is the nature of it. So it's like, okay, so what is it? Is it the fear of criticism? Are you giving your power away to the criticism of a random person who won't even use their own face as a picture? As a person who won't even use their name, their face, or whatever, and they're gonna judge you? There's a social disempowerment that happens. Like, it was probably a bored grandpa. Yeah, and it was just someone needing attention, like, so sometimes in these get like go to the root of like why. What is it? Is it and then where does that fear of criticism come from? If you're so much or maybe it's like coming back to the powerlessness of like holding back your opinions. The imposter syndrome. Do you feel that your opinions are like not good enough? Or it's already been said? Survival instinct. Andrew, that's a great point. So, survival instinct is a great point to make about this because in our reptilian brain, we have this tribalism. And basically, in tribal stuff, in when we were once monkeys, if one in the group acted out of the norm, they would be shunned or attacked. And if they were shunned, then they wouldn't have the food, they wouldn't have the community, and they would eventually die. So we have this survival mechanism in our brain that does not want to exceed our peers, that does not want to hello, reflector in the wild. Thank you so much. I've been looking over the stuff you've sent me. I so appreciate it. And I had a great interview today that's going to come out on Wednesday about human design. So that was an amazing interview too. So also some of the stuff you sent me helped me prepare some of those questions. Okay, so, with this survival instinct, sometimes there is like a deep seated fear that, like, if we step out of line, we could die. We could be shunned. We could lose community. We could be, back in the day, they would hang people on the guillotine with that type of stuff. They would burn witches at the stake for that stuff. They would do all crazy stuff for that. So this is not that long ago. Like, yeah, it's a survival thing, but also like what, 150 years ago, they were still very actively doing that. And then even now, we have the cancel culture, which is like the watered down social guillotine, right? Like this is like the cancel culture of it all of like, oh my God, what if I say something that's offensive? What if I give my opinion and somebody disagrees with it? And that's the nature of it. So like, what are we giving our power away from to? Right. So these are all different ways that we give our power away and to get like real honest that it's not just to another person. It's not just to a toxic relationship. It's not just to an energy vampire or an abuser. It is all around us every day. We're giving our power away. And that is energetic sovereignty, right? Like even in healthy situations, we're giving our power away. Like even a lot of times without people asking. Like right now, one thing that I'm working on in my personal life is, I've just moved here to Louisiana and I'm living with my husband and he makes it very comfortable for me and he's amazing and he goes above and beyond to make it comfortable and easy transition for me coming from LA. But I even notice things that I'm giving my power away because of love. And these are like real reflections that like we need to think about. I am thinking about, but I'm sharing with you that you could possibly be in the same situation. Like say for example, my husband and I eat different types of food. Like I in LA, I eat cucumbers with salt. I would eat brown rice, white rice with steamed veg. I would have my like um bad meals, but for the most part I ate very um healthy. And like I would have those kind of unhealthy meals very infrequently, more as a treat. And so since coming here, my husband has a different appetite than me, a different taste than me, and things like that. So I have been making dinner for us and kind of, catering to the type of food that he likes. And, that was fun for a little bit. But then now I'm kind of at a place where I'm like, no, I don't like to eat like this. Like, I don't like to eat these very big, very heavy meals. I don't like to eat this kind of food that is not that healthy. He can eat whatever he wants because, he's very athletic, you know, and a man, and men can eat anything. And as women, we have less calories, we have less things. What does he eat? Like hamburger helper? I mean, anything like that. Mac and cheese, pizza, Taco Bell, like, you know, pasta, mashed potatoes. And so it's just a lot heavier food than what I would usually eat. And so I realized that, like, I'm even kind of, in a way, giving my power away for, like, love because I'm like, well, I wanna make the food that he is gonna enjoy because I love him, because he's being so great to me. I want to make the type of food that he likes, and then I realized that it's like, okay, now this is so personal power doesn't need to be something negative. It's when you're not able to differentiate between you and another. So I'm then not able to differentiate between my needs as food and his needs as food. And then I'm putting my needs and desires of food aside to meet another person's because I love him, because I want him to enjoy his dinner, because that's something that I get to do for him and show my love and, be able to do something that is, nice. And so this is an interesting kind of aspect of giving the power away, right? Because this is like, where do those boundaries and stuff? balance when it is something that's positive, when it is something that you want to do it as an act of love. Then there's those other things, like him and I have different sleep schedules, different energy times of the day. He's a morning person. I've become more of a morning person but still not that early of a morning person. And so things like that, like me kind of taking my schedule and like realizing the sacredness of my own schedule and the sacredness of my own routine, which my routine is to not have a routine. Okay. That's what my routine is, more the flow. JK, they opened an Erewhon in Pasadena and I keep going back to get pizza. Everything is organic. I went to that Erewhon in Pasadena and let me tell you, I literally almost didn't make it to the bathroom in time after drinking. I thought I drank a regular lemonade there. Then I looked at the ingredients and there was like algae and all this stuff. And I was like, I barely was done eating, but I was like, oh, I need to go to the bathroom. Oh my God. And then I was wrecked. That was the day before my wedding. So be careful with that E3 algae type stuff. They got those crazy ingredients in there at Erewhon. Um, you didn't get the smoothies yet. Um, Yeah, so these are like these different things. These are ways that these are not negative ways that we are giving away our power, but personal power is this being able to differentiate your needs from another person's needs, your opinion from another person's opinion, your energy from another person's energy, your time from another person's time. And these are the things that sometimes in positive settings like relationships, which could be a healthy relationship, you can still mix those things up. And I'm sure there's a million things that my husband could hear from this about ways that he's giving his power over to the relationship, and over to me and my needs and what I like and what I want. And I'm sure he feels the same way at times when we really look at power and personal power. And maybe you two can meet in the middle and make a Korean short ribs with rice, veg, and kimchi. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. I think we're going to figure out some middle ground. I'm gonna see if he's gonna try out some of the healthy food and see how he feels. It might make him feel good, and he might like that. And then we kind of splurge certain days and eat the bad food sometimes, or we just eat different food, and I'm gonna figure that out. Um, and you say organic stuff. I don't even care if it's organic. I don't even believe in organic. Half of that's a lie. I think it's, the heaviness of the food, I don't even believe in the organic. I think was Louisiana a better quality of life, simpler living? Louisiana's been great. My quality of life here is so good and so improved, and I'm loving that. I'm loving the safety of it, not just the safety of living here with my husband, but also just like the safety of the environment. Like really like my nervous system has a very different energy because it's different than like being in Hollywood where you go outside and you're basically like just always having to look over your shoulder and just be so aware and hyper aware. And that's what this said, the powerlessness. So when you feel powerless, you become hyper aware. So even that was something that I didn't realize was taking my power, was living off of Hollywood Boulevard. So my own personal safety was not my own, and that required me also to kind of be in a completely different environment. So, boundaries are really the way, and boundaries don't have to be, a lot of times people use boundaries in a way that is like, ooh, fighting back from a narc or fighting back to an abusive person. And sometimes boundaries are not like that. And they don't like need to always be like defiant or aggressive. Boundaries can be like very simple, and they could be communicated simple or just done, just implemented. So, like, say, for example, you know, communicating what is okay, communicating certain things about time, certain needs, certain things about space, certain things about energy, certain things about topics. Sometimes people are not in a space to talk about a certain topic, and it doesn't mean they don't want to ever talk about that topic, but maybe they're just not there to talk about that topic right now. Another thing too is like people sometimes will overshare so that they can feel more connected. Now, someone like, you probably have friends that do this, and maybe they're Geminis and or Leos. Um, Probably not a Scorpio. But sometimes people will overshare, because maybe there's kind of like a moment of silence in a conversation and they need to fill it. So then they start telling you stuff that's way too personal and then they feel bad. Or maybe sometimes they want to connect with someone really badly. So they overshare information. And you said, yeah, with ADHD. Yeah, maybe they have ADHD and they just start oversharing. And it's like that sometimes can be giving away your power because then afterwards you might not feel good that you told all of that information, or you might feel embarrassed that you told all of that information. Yeah, trauma dumping, exactly. So like some of those things could be, and these are not like giving away your power. This is not like the defiant, like activism, take back your power, fuck the man, fuck the system. Like, no, this is like a real honest audit of what is draining your energy, what makes you feel good, what makes you not feel good, what is something that you maybe need to have a conversation about. Maybe you don't need a conversation about it. Maybe you just need to do it and implement it and just start acting as it. Maybe there's something that in your next setting that you're hanging out with someone that you do certain things differently because you've been leaking your power and your energy out. And let's see, emotional labor is another one. So like family stuff, like maybe there's times where you overdo what you can because of a family member, because of a friend, because of something. So like there's balance with these things. That doesn't mean you need to be defiant and like, I'm never doing this again for anybody. I'm never going to help anybody again. But then there's like a limit or a boundary. Like this might be a parent. Maybe they need your help. So you can't just fully pull away, but you need to find a balance in a way that also works for you. So then what you could do is like set certain boundaries of like, okay, I'm only going to do this between these hours, or I'm not going to answer all these calls. I'm only going to answer the calls and address everything at once. And these are things that you can communicate, or sometimes you don't even need to communicate. You just act. You thought you'd overcome that after 2 toxic relationships and then 10 years into a healthy marriage. I realized I'd still manage to give away power, especially in terms of time and eating. Yeah. And it's like, I think what we talked about last week with the purpose, the stuff with the gene keys, with human design, um, a lot of what comes up for my work in the world is that my own lessons, my own information, the things that I digest and dissolve is all to help other people. So me having this situation, which is not a big deal, about like the food, me kind of making food that is different than what I would be making. And now I want to kind of find a balance between like something that my husband likes and that I like. And then how can we both have the type of food that we want that makes us both feel good? What is the way to do that? What is the time and energy to do that? What is the how do you navigate that? That's something that, maybe is coming up for people that um need to hear that, you know? So that's, could be one of those things like that we're all doing some similar stuff in different ways, like the oversharing, or if I'm you and you are me, then ultimately giving your power away, are you really just giving it back to yourself? Well, you're zooming out a lot with that, right? We're zooming out a lot. And every single person is a fractal of the one, but you're still having an individual experience. So you can see the light in another person, you can see yourself in another person, but you're still here to have the experience of this aspect and this part of the one. So this part of the one might need to experience what it feels like to take their power back, or to stand in their sovereignty, or to be empowered, or to set boundaries, or to so sometimes we can spiritual bypass out of doing it. Like, oh, if you're me and I'm you and it's all a reflection, then does any of it matter? Or does it like, and it's like, well, you're still an individual and there's still another individual in front of you who, yeah, you guys are both the same one, but you're both experiencing the illusion of separation right now in order to have that experience. So, We are all having an experience. And so we can sometimes like bypass by kind of going into those topics. Like sometimes people will bypass and being like, okay, well, what is this mirroring to me? And that's a great reflection. But that kind of gets to like, like say Aubrey Marcus's wife, where she's like, well, if I feel jealousy about my husband getting another woman pregnant, then that means I have work to do. And that is those types of things where we need boundaries, energetic boundaries. Get your power back, gal. So there's these fine lines is like sometimes it's a reflection and sometimes it's like, oh, you got some action to take, because then she's like, well, what is this teaching me? What is this reflecting to me? This is reflecting to me that I still struggle with jealousy. And it's like, girl, well, this is reflecting to us is y'all need to stand up for yourself. She gave a lot of her power away. Right. Right. So it's kind of this fine line. There is reflections and things, and then there's real life stuff that action is needed, or a conversation is needed, or awareness is needed. Let's see. Um, oh yeah, another thing too that is like interesting about this stuff is competing with others instead of celebrating their wins. So like sometimes you might find yourself in peers, friendships, etc., where you start to feel competitive with them. But really, that is also disempowering yourself, right? Because that's disempowering yourself to thinking that it's available to everybody, that there's enough for everybody, that there's enough abundance, that there's enough for everybody to have what is theirs at the moment that is theirs. So when we celebrate other people's wins, it actually is empowering to us because we're empowered enough to know, like, okay, there's enough for them, there's enough for me. We're all gonna get what we need. Then you aren't, like, giving your power away to, like, scarcity or limitations. Um, Diminishing your achievements. We kinda talked about that before with, like, the giving away to the guru, like, "Oh, this person awakened me. This person told me something in a session about myself, and now forever, I need to take their word as gospel because one thing was really helpful." And so this goes along with the diminishing of your achievements. So first that was in the diminishing of achievements of your own work, your own awakening, your own spiritual dedication, your own personal development, your own getting up and doing the stuff every day, making those decisions, taking the action. But then it can go into diminishing achievements in other areas of life. So sometimes we're diminishing our achievements in other areas of life, like in real work situations, or, we're diminishing our abilities like, oh yeah, that's nothing. Oh yeah, like that's nothing. And then people do this with their looks as well, right? Like we'll tell someone like, oh, you look so good. They're like, oh, this, no, no, no. Oh no, I'm not right. Oh, this, my hair, no, my this, my that. It's all ugh. Or someone says like, "Oh, wow, you look so good, you lost weight, you, got in shape," and they're like, "Oh, no, I still have so long to go." Oh, yeah. And so, like, we are giving our power away to, because then, right, when they did the study of people feeling powerful, they had more curiosity, more confidence, more creativity, more action, more goals, more opportunities, more rewards. So, when we disempower ourselves from our achievements, we move more towards powerlessness, and there's a fine balance between like being humble. A lot of people use being humble as an excuse to disempower themselves. And they do this a lot of times because they want to avoid judgment or avoid envy or avoid making other people feel smaller. So sometimes we're disempowering ourselves in that way. Um, the reason I brought up this topic, is because I forgot. I should have said this in the beginning, but the Substack class. So every last Sunday of the month, we have our Substack class. These are for the paid subscribers. So the Substack is a group hypnosis. So this Sunday, we're going to talk about some of these disempowering things, but then we're going to do a hypnosis. And it's a group hypnosis. You can listen to the recording after. And basically, what we're going to do The reason why hypnosis is so powerful is because it bypasses the conscious mind and it does work rewiring on the unconscious mind, on the subconscious mind. And this is really the operating system, right? This is the program that is running. Our unconscious and our subconscious are running the program of our day to day life. So, this is why hypnosis is such a good tool because we have our conscious mind. You might have heard something today and been like, damn, I never thought of that. Wow, I never thought of myself giving away my power in that way, but actually I am. So then that comes from some belief, that comes from some idea, that comes from some experience, that comes from some story, that comes from something. So when we work with the subconscious mind, we're able to kind of change and bypass those things and to go past the conscious mind and figure something out or rewire something or change a perspective. Like, I think one of the most powerful things that comes from hypnosis is a shift in perspective. And when we have a shift in perspective, when we're able to see a situation differently, it makes a world of difference to interpret a situation differently. Like, for example, some stuff that comes up in hypnosis, like, say, for example, someone realizes, like, oh, I have been doing this and it's this simple to just change it. Like, that story is over. I'm not my past anymore. I'm not what happened to me. I'm not this old story of being poor or being unlovable or being unworthy. I'm not that anymore. And sometimes when we get to bypass the conscious mind and then do that little bit of work on the subconscious, it's already there. Like, it's waiting to be rewired. So that's what we're doing this month on the Substack class. We've been doing the soul architecture class. This is class number 8, I believe. So it's a 10-month program. There's 7 replays. We're going to have the 8th class. You can catch up if you join. You can also just start here on the 8th class and then start going back and doing the other ones where we did work on subconscious loops. So these are beliefs that are in your subconscious. We did on the self image. So we go to the subconscious and we rewire the self image. And then that one has like a worksheet to do some daily tasks to anchor that in. Then we did some work on the thoughts. So your subconscious beliefs and your subconscious beliefs are different than your day-to-day thoughts. So then we did work on the day-to-day thoughts. Then we did work on a bunch of other stuff. We did work on the body. So then, we're working through these levels. Is like we went from like the subconscious mind, the self-image, the mind, the thoughts. Then we start working on the body. And then we're like, okay, well, you can heal parts of your body by using subconscious work and visualization. So there's hypnosis meditations for that. The last one that we just did, which was so good, was one of my favorites, is we did work on rewriting soul contracts and rewriting karma. And this is a topic that I'm super into right now because too many people are retelling this story of their past, thinking that it's karma, thinking that it's a soul contract, thinking that it's a soul lesson, and you are rewriting your soul contracts in every moment. You have the power to not be entwined in karma, to not be entwined in a soul contract. The only thing is now. Now is the only moment. So you can, every single moment, choose a new soul contract. This concept that we have from spirituality that you chose your life, that you chose your karma, that you chose your wounds, that you chose these lessons with people. That's old programming that you don't need to live by anymore. We already know time is simultaneous, that it's all right now. So what happens is it ripples to the past and the future. We could change the past. We could change the future. It's already been proven in quantum physics that this whole thing with the double slit experiment, where if it's being observed, it's particles. If it's not being observed, it's waves. What they've found is that if you go and look at the past will become particles when it is observed, but it already happened. So they found that quantum particles behave differently in the past based on being observed in the present. Then they did another experiment where they actually jumbled the information. So they had recorded it. It was jumbled information. Nobody knew whether they acted as waves or particles, and nobody observed it. When they went back to it, it changed it in the past. Then we also know this with quantum entanglement. So there's things that can happen now that the quantum entanglement, so the other particle that is connected to it, and all the particles are connected to everything, will literally react that way in the past when they observe it. So this is the thing, is they found the past can be changed. That's in the physical. This is actual light particles or light waves. That's changing the past in physical realm. If we can do this in the physical realm on the quantum level, anything is possible. We can change our karma, our soul contracts, our lessons. Oh, thanks, Zark. Damn, I needed this message tonight. I'm capable of so much, but discredit and avoid being witnessed by a false modesty. And it was reaffirming my self esteem issues. Thanks for shedding light into my darkness. Thank you so much. And you know what? Like, let's talk about that, right? Because this modesty, and Meg, she was here earlier. Meg said something to me one time in a session, I think when we were doing our coaching, that was so good, that she said it takes like, it's just as egoic to play small as it is to play big. And that is like, whoa, right? To play small is egoic. And to play big is to be in your ego as well. So, like, why play small then? Right? Why dim your light then? If it's just as like what Zark just said, is that it's a false modesty and it reaffirms your self-esteem. So this, like, being humble, like, you can have humility, you can be earnest and not play small. You can be honest, you can be helping a lot of people and not play small. So it takes the same amount of ego to be like, well, I'm nothing. I'm not good enough, or, I'm more humble. Playing small, dimming your light is just as much egoic, and it's a different aspect of the ego. The ego might sometimes think you're better or something for not putting yourself out there, or for not taking the spotlight that you deserve, or not acknowledging your achievements. Like, you know, my husband's like that. Like, he literally has like so many medals and achievements and awards and everything. And he's like, oh, yeah, it's nothing. It doesn't matter. It's just unimportant. And it's like, playing down your achievements is a disempowerment. And, like, it really is important that you also acknowledge, like, your true worth. And if your true worth is great, which most people are, because, right, we all have that same source. That's where I think that oneness comes in. Everybody has that spark of God in them. Everybody has the power in them, So living in that power, living in that light, living in that, and allowing yourself to shine, allowing yourself to follow the path of your heart, allowing yourself to live your dreams, allowing yourself to feel what you feel, or say what you want to say, or to show what you want to show, or that creativity, share it with the world, or that goal that you achieved, or that thing, like, allowing yourself to celebrate yourself. These things is God, the creator, right? So the source, the energy, the one, this is the creator, and we're created in the image of the creator. So we serve the creator through creation. So this is the ways that we want to, and standing up for yourself, for your own power, is a ripple effect. It affects the other people too, to then stand up for themselves. Crazy stuff. I saved some achievements I shared during an interview to reassure myself today. And that's the thing. Like, we sometimes might judge people who boast or brag or whatever, and maybe that sometimes does come out wrong, right? Sometimes they are, you know, sometimes it doesn't land. And that's why I think it's really good to have more examples of good, honest people sharing their wins, right? Because we need more examples. I say this all the time about the spiritual community as well. There's a lot of grifters, scammers, opportunists in the spiritual community, and it really triggers me, because I care about the people who consume this type of information. So I get very like triggered by like people who I think that they're kind of capitalizing or co-opting or manipulating or, using these scare marketing tactics and stuff to, there's so many things, or acting like you're going to manifest all this stuff through them, and or again giving your intuition away to them, going to them to get information, like kind of the disempowerment. There's many of these things I get triggered by, but then what I always tell people, I meet people all the time that are like, "Oh, I really want to become a practitioner of this, or I really want to become a facilitator, or I want to learn my healing certification, or I want to share this invention or gift or creation, or I have this calling towards something." And then they get discouraged because they look at the space and they're like, "Oh, but I'm not like these people. I'm not like that person who's so egoic. I'm not that person who's gonna go out there and push my courses and all of those things." And I'm like, "No, actually people like you are needed in this space. We need more honest voices. We need more earnest people. We need more authentic people." I just did an interview with Dana Kipple, who she was on my podcast. I was just on her podcast. I think it's coming out in a couple weeks. And one of the things that she said that I really appreciated is she thinks like this new wave of channeling. We have our Bashar type of channelers. And like she said, I feel like the new wave of channeling is just real people just saying it from themselves, just allowing themselves to just say the truth. She's like, that's the real channeling now. And I was like, "Damn, girl. Damn." That was a good one. Like, that's true. Like, people that are just a human being themselves don't need to be from this planet, this dimension, this timeline, another timeline in the future of an alternate race of humans mixed with grays. And it's 300 years in the future, but they're these beings who don't exist here, and all the other stuff of whatever Bashar is channeling, like we don't need that anymore. Before, I think humanity was at a stage where they couldn't digest the information from a regular person. That if you didn't have it all figured out, if you weren't an expert, if you weren't a god, if you weren't an alien from another planet speaking through a human being, if you weren't saying it in this very specific tone of voice and way of speaking with your eyes closed and like this, if you weren't saying that, people didn't know how to receive information. But a lot has happened in the collective. And this is the real integration. This is the real New Earth shit. Like, this is the real integration of real people in real jobs, in real places. Not everybody needs to quit their job to pursue some type of guru life. Like, we need people in real jobs. We need people in real spaces. We don't need to isolate ourselves into these communities where everybody dresses in white and goes on pilgrimages and has initiations all day. It's like, no, we need people that are working in the grocery store to bring this energy there. We need people who are working in a doctor's office and regular Western medicine to bring this energy there. We need people like my husband who work in the military to bring this energy there. We need these people everywhere, in real people, in real voices, in real, like, people that you can relate to, and not people who pretend to have it all figured it out. So I really think that this is the next wave. And it's like, this is why we need people like you, like people that are watching this and have been giving their power away. And not even only in spiritual stuff, in every area of life, like you being empowered and taking your like message out into the world. It could be to one other person that you work with, it could be to a stranger on the bus, it could be to a million people on the internet, it could be to a full stadium like a Tony Robbins type of thing. Wherever, whatever it is, that is the way that it like really gets out there and really integrates, and you said janitors are needed too. Hell yeah, janitors are needed. And a janitor could give someone some very wise information. Someone who's working late at night and the janitor's there already, they could have a very moving conversation with someone who is very wise. Did you know Patrick Chemo? Semo? He's my favorite psychic. I don't know who that is. I never heard of him. Um, yeah, so this is the thing. There's a difference between giving away power negligently and being taken advantage of. Right, exactly. Yahweh is returning to judge the nations. Well, I don't give my power away to nothing. Not Yahweh either. Sorry. He's a Viking that plays the gong. Oh, cool. CEO of Nvidia started as a janitor. Oh, cool. Um, but that's the thing, right? He's super cool. I gotta check him out. That's what I mean. Okay, let's pull a card. We're gonna take it from the Mike Wilcox deck, which is my favorite deck right now. Let me look at my notes if there was anything that I forgot. Oh, there's something called N.I.C.E. So those of you who are afraid of your boundaries, setting boundaries, here is the N.I.C.E. approach to setting your boundaries. N-I-C-E. So N stands for notice your inner cue. So that's the first thing around setting boundaries, right? It's noticing your inner cue. Are you feeling frustrated? Are you feeling angry, resentful, disempowered? You're feeling passive aggressive. Are you feeling annoyed? Are you these things? That is the inner cue. Next, identify the boundary. So then after that, after you notice that cue, then you identify what is the boundary? What is being crossed? What do I need to change? What is like causing this? So, like using the example of, I mean, we'll use the example of the food because it's a very like easy, nice example that is like not crazy. Okay, so nice. Notice the inner cue. The inner cue for me is like, I'm not feeling good eating this food. I'm feeling like this is maybe a bit heavy. I love eating dinner together, but also I'm not feeling great eating this food. And also, I don't think my husband's feeling great eating the food too, because he's like saying that this is too much sodium because, that's what the unhealthy food has. So then, so that's the inner cue. Then identifying the boundary. Okay, so what is the boundary? Is okay, this is not what I would normally eat. So what is being changed is I'm eating out of what I would like to eat because I am projecting. He hasn't asked me to. He hasn't said, "You can't eat this." He hasn't said, "We're only eating this. We're only eating chili mac. We're only eating Taco Bell. We're only eating pizza." He didn't tell me that or give me those things. It's something that I have in my mind wanted to make what he likes to show him my love and to, do something nice and to, be able to. And also, I like being able to cook for someone. I won't cook for myself. So now that I have someone to cook for, I actually get to kind of do a lot of things that I don't get to usually do. So I like the fun and the exploring of it. Okay, so then there's like the boundary. So then commit. So N-I, identify the boundary. C is commit. So then you commit your calm digestion type too, right? So that's the other thing. The human design has different digestion types. I have to look at my husband's digestion type. Mine is the calm digestion type. So I think that's also why I like more, I wouldn't say simple food, but it's, yeah, I don't know. But yes, I have to get more into that different thing. So there's a lot of tools to also find your own energy. Okay, so commit. So then you commit to like, okay, so now what is going to committing to changing that into what way? So what does that mean? I said, okay, I can we can talk about it and I can either make the healthy meal for both of us or I can make myself something separate. So then, depending on the day, depending on the energy, depending on that, I might do a variation of that. See how he feels eating the healthy food. And then the next is to enact it. So make the commitment and then to enact it. This is nice boundaries, N-I-C-E. Notice the cue, the inner cue. identify the boundary, commit to the boundary, and then enact the boundary. And a boundary, like I said, it doesn't need to be something aggressive. It can be something out of love. Let's see what card fell out. Oh, beautiful. It's called the tree. The tree. The tree. Okay, so energetic meaning: life, home, shelter, wisdom, sanctuary, steadiness, and earth. The message. The tree calls us home to the safety and security of ourselves. The tree is our spiritual home, rooted in the earth and reaching to the heavens. It is the giver of fruits ripe with knowledge from above and below. One of the most important things in life in order to heal and be happy is the feeling of safety and calm. Let the tree be a guide, a safe space, and a reminder that you are safe and you are okay right now. Like a tree, we need good sunshine and clean water, fresh air, and a steady foundation. And just as trees need roots and stability to thrive, so do our spiritual and emotional bodies. Since we are not always in one place that we find things to wait, since we are not always in one place, we must find things to sink our roots into for stability. Creating all of your stability around external circumstances like careers or relationships can leave you fumbling if they become shaky or removed entirely. So grant yourself stability in things like your spiritual connection with the earth and the cosmos and your sense of self and your natural loving nature. Make who you are at your core your stability to come back to. Mm. These cards always so beautifully. Oh, oh my God, sorry. I deafened everybody with the hitting the mic. Interesting too. There's like a male, female, feminine, masculine, tree of life, kind of burning fire at the top. We've got some like kundalini, snake energy up. We have like a shield and a bow, and then a shield and a sword. And then it has like really beautiful. Literally everything we just talked about. I'm telling you, every time the cards are always so accurate. So let's do the mantra. I am one with this earth. I am grounded and rooted in strength and love. And here's our reflection. I invite you to create a safe place in your heart and your mind, a place to go to when you close your eyes and what brings you home. Somewhere you feel is safe, that is all yours. You can make this place anything you want. Draw it, visualize it, but build it and come back to it when you need to feel secure. This is a nice message, for this energetic sovereignty, right? Like maybe if you're someone who struggles with some of that energetic sovereignty, then maybe we, have like a physical place that you go to, a meditation that you go to and do, an energetic mental place that you can go to and do it. Beautiful. Thanks, guys. You said that tree looks self-destructive. I think it's just a weeping willow type of tree. You spent this weekend at a retreat talking about the tree of life and knowledge. Oh, beautiful. Oh my goodness. They're falling. The roots of a tree are their digestive system. Ooh. You had a tree last night. You had a dream last night that you had to do 97 steps with coding, and the last one was untangling a tree. Wow, beautiful. How many decks of cards do you have? How are they different? Um, I don't have a lot. A lot. Like, I didn't have a lot compared to some other people. I have maybe like 10, maybe like 10. I have so this one is very special. My friend Chelsea got it for me for my birthday, and what makes it very special is that it's tarot and oracle together. So it's the major arcana, and then the rest are oracle cards, and then they also have a, zodiac section. So this is really unique deck, and the art is beautiful. I have a Thoth deck, which is the Aleister Crowley deck. I have the regular Rider Waite deck. I have Decks by Marcella Kroll, by Jennifer Sodini, by Cara Elizabeth, by Kim Kranz. So I do like these different interpretations of tarot, and I do love also oracle cards. My favorites, this is the favorite right now. My Thoth deck is another favorite right now. Um, All-time favorites, definitely Sacred Symbols by Marcella Kroll. I always use that one. Want to take one from there? They're simple. You want to know how many decks I have? They're in here. I have 2 versions of the you can't hear me over there. I have 2 versions of this, deck. One I use for shadow stuff, one I use for regular. And also my other favorite deck is the Modern Nirvana Oracle. My Modern Nirvana Oracle is what I usually grab to go to. Okay, so we'll take one from this deck, which is way more direct. Do you have any Alana Fairchild decks? I used to have the Crystal Mandala one, and I just didn't resonate with it, so I actually gave it to Goodwill. But I saw last night that she has an Isis deck and a Kali deck, and I was actually thinking about getting those. We could hear you over there. Oh my god, then my mic is loud. Then I'm yelling in your Oh, okay, here. So, the gratitude card. Ooh, the Rumi deck. I was looking at that last night on Amazon, actually. It's funny you mention it. So, gratitude. So, this is the message, right? I mean, very self-explanatory, but I'll read what Marcella had to say about this. A deep honoring is present. Give and feel great thanks now for whatever blessings have arrived and are en route to you now. Drawing this card invites you to share your devotion or to outwardly express gratitude to someone or something for its presence in your life. Meditate or create a gratitude list for all that you are thankful for in your life. The devotion candle is the symbol. Candles have been used to light a room, a path, or even a cake. They are often used in magical rituals, in memorials, and to honor sacred passages in life. Beautiful. Oh, well, you know what? The mic is connected to YouTube. So you guys here on TikTok can hear me. Thank you for entertaining my question, explaining the decks. So can the self-destructive meaning mean something based on how I see the card, or am I just not you can always interpret what you want from a card. It's whatever message you want from it. Okay, what was I gonna say? The Substack class this Sunday. If you're not a subscriber to the Substack, go to jennifercarmody.substack.com. It's linked below in the YouTube. It's linked here in the um, link in the bio on my TikTok. We have the something else. I don't know. You tell me. Anyway, guys, we'll see you. Oh, the podcast coming on Thursday. It's going to be so good with Marisha. It is good in-depth human design. We're actually going to do another episode because there is another happy new moon. You just celebrated Diwali today and now seeing this card. Oh, beautiful. So yes, happy Diwali. Happy Libra new moon. It's a beautiful time to be grateful, to express your gratitude. This Libra moon is justice, balance, decision making, partnership, speaking up for yourself, right? That's another thing that, sometimes Libras struggle with, but then justice is served. So it is the good energy for this topic of there's a good astrologer on YouTube, Joni Patri. I like Joni Patri. I do watch her sometimes. She does Vedic astrology. She's really good. Oh, there's a comet shower tonight. Okay. Maybe I'll see it. I don't know. It was storming here. So I don't know how the sky looks, but I'll go out and check, see if I can see it. Okay, guys. Well, thanks for being here for this Tuesday Night Live. Hope this hits you at the exact right time that you need it. Also, oh, the new moon was in gate 50. And I saw there was something going on with gate 28 today, too. So that's what I'm learning. Thank you, Jen, for giving us yet another terrific Tuesday Night Live. Thank you. I want to hear your story regarding knowledge, consuming information, having time for observation and spiritual growth while having a job during your growing years. I talk about it a lot on my channel. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what video to look up. I mean, the one about the us versus them, if you haven't watched it from 2 weeks ago, is a good one about kind of balancing information. I have a video actually that I'm putting clips out from, which was about psychic or psychosis. And it was of spiritual psychosis, spiritual bypassing, and spiritual ego video. It was a Tuesday Night Live from Halloween 2 years ago that I did on Halloween Day. And then uh, I just edited a couple clips from it that I'm going to be posting. So keep an eye open, put the notifications on YouTube, because now I'm going to have these little 5-minute clips that are like good little nuggets from old Tuesday Night Lives. So then you'll have the link, be able to go back and check it again. You said that's a good topic. So if you want to watch it, it's an old Tuesday Night Live called Psychic or Psychosis, Spiritual Psychosis, JK Ultra. And it's just a good breakdown of how spiritual awakenings happen, why they cause psychosis sometimes, what is spiritual ego, what is spiritual bypassing, what are these things, and kind of also respecting everybody on their journey, not diagnosing people, also acknowledging when someone's ungrounded, also what to do when you're ungrounded and how to kind of pull yourself back to being grounded. So that's an old one, but you guys will see there's new clips coming out or from that, and then it'll have the link to the full thing. So maybe you'll see a clip of it and then go back and watch it. And I have other videos that are going to be like that too. So keep your eyes open and make sure you watch those on YouTube, because they're good little nuggets. Okay, really good. You can love them. Even if you saw it the first time. That little 5-minute reminder of the message. Okay, guys, see you next Tuesday. Thanks. Love you.